All right, this demo is on creating a composite for your rhythm photos. What I'm going to do first is I'm going to open up my background layer because everything's going to stack up on top of my background layer. And then I'm also going to open up the next picture that's going to go on top of that in this sequence. So this one, the diving, is going to go next. So I don't have to worry about my background layer. I just need it open, or excuse me, my background picture. And what I'm going to do here is I'm going to select just my subject that I want to move over to my other picture, which would be the diver. So I'm going to zoom in and get close. And I'm going to use a selection tool. And I'm going to select my subject first, and then I'm going to make a layer mask after that. And the layer mask will separate my subject from the background so that I can only see my subject while keeping the rest of the pixels in there. So it's a non-destructive edit so that I can go back and change it later. So I'm going to use my selection tool. You can use any of them. I'm just going to do, I'll just try it with even the lasso this time. So I'm just going to kind of lasso around the area that I would like to select. And close it up. That didn't work. My feather was way too high, so let's try that again. I'm going to put 2 pixels for a feather, and this time I'm going to try it one more time. All right, that looks better. So now my selection isn't right on to where my subject is. So this is when I can use quick mask mode, which is down here. Works very similar to a layer mask, but it's just going to work with my selection. So I'm going to click on that. And I can see that anything that I've selected, I can see the actual color. Anything that is not selected is this pinkish reddish color. Now I'm going to work with black and white paintbrush like I would with a layer mask. So I want to check to make sure I have black and white here. I'm going to paint with the white color in order to change my selection. I'm going to make sure my hardness is up fairly high. And then when I paint, this is actually adding more to my selection and I want to switch that. So I'm going to press X, or I can click on the arrow so that the black is in front, make my brush bigger, and then this will allow my selection to change. Okay, so now I can zoom in and get close, get some of these edges, and really get my selection nice and neat. Okay, so if I exit out of quick mask mode, so I'm just going to press this button, you can see how my selection is changing, and I can see where it's going and where it's not, and how to kind of clean up those edges. So I would keep going with this until I got it all the way cleaned up. Okay, so I went in and I cleaned up and I got most of my selection pretty close. When I take off the quick mask, I can see that I missed a little bit of an area here. I need to go a little bit into an area over there. So I'm going to go back to quick mask mode. And because I don't want any selection to be there, I'm just going to press X and switch this so that my white comes up. And then I can go in there and kind of get rid of where that selection came in. And then over here I'm going to switch X again so the black is up so that I can change my selection over this way. Kind of get in here just a little bit closer. Okay, now that I've done that, I'm going to make a layer mask to separate my subject from the background. Before I do that, I need to make sure I exit quick mask mode. And then I've already unlocked my background, so it's going to allow me to come over to my layers palette and add a layer mask. If you see a lock showing up here, you're going to right click on your layer and you're going to click on layer from background, which I don't have right now, but that's what you would do so that you don't have a lock there anymore. I'm going to click on the layer mask button. And now I can see a layer mask is created. So anywhere that it's black, it means it's see-through, it's transparent. Anywhere it's white, it's showing my image. But if I wanted to go back and change anything, like change some of my edges, I still can. So I'm going to zoom in, and I would still work with the black and white. So now I can see here, I have a little bit of the edge showing. So I don't want that to show up, so I'm going to paint with black. And then I can come in and clean up those edges a little bit more. And right now I went in too much, so I would switch to the white and clean up those edges. So that's the advantage of using a layer mask, is that you can go back and forth and fix it to look how you would like it to look. All right, so I would go back and finish cleaning up those edges just a little bit more so I don't see any of that. But then I'm going to pull it into my next picture. In order to do that, I need to see my background image and this image at the same time. So I want to arrange documents up at the top. I'm going to click down and go 2 up so I can see both of them at the same time. And these aren't the right 2 that I want to see, so I'm going to actually change it up to 3 up because I have 3 pictures open. And this is my background picture. I want to make sure I'm clicked on the image that I just selected. I'm going to click on the background and I'm going to pull that into my background image, my last image. Okay? And I can see that it shows up there, and I want to see just that picture show. So I'm going to go arrange documents, do consolidate all, so I just have the 1 up, and I can see that. And now I want to get this to fit into the right spot. To do that, I'm going to click on my move tool here. I'm going to move it until it fits correctly into the picture, which would be right about here, and I can always change it later. Alright, then I'm just going to keep doing this until I've got all of my pictures into one. Okay, so I have already done another picture where I've separated out the background. So I selected an area, I've created a layer mask, so I'm going to do the same thing. I want to drag this into my next picture. So I'm changing my arrange documents to 2 up. I'm going to click here, pull it into my next picture, do 1 up so I can see it, and same thing, I'm going to arrange this where it needs to go. Okay, here I have all of my 5 different pictures combined together. It looks like I actually have 6 here. And you can see all my layers. So I've got the layer with the layer mask for each of them. That way I can go back and edit and change it later. And now what I want to do is, I've added my color and tone and contrast changes. So before, the color was pretty good. I just wanted to add a little more contrast with the levels, even with the curves as well, and brighten up that colors with the vibrance to allow it to pop. Now, something that you might encounter is one of your pictures might be a little bit dark. Like when I look at this, you can see that this picture is just a little bit darker because of the angle of the sun than I want it to be. So I want to make an adjustment layer that's just on that area. So to do that, I'm going to right click, and I should be able to capture which layer it is. It looks like it's layer 3. So I'm going to click on that, and I can see it selects it. And then I want to brighten it up just a little bit. So I'm going to click on my brightness and contrast, and I want this layer to only apply to this layer that I have, which is layer 3, and not to all of them below. So what I'm going to do is click on this little icon that says this adjustment affects just the layer below. It's a clipping mask. So I'm going to click on that. I see a little arrow show up. That means it's going to show only to this layer right there, and then I can adjust my brightness. And you can see if I did this to an extreme, you could see that it's only applying to that layer and not all of them, which is exactly what I want. So I just want it to brighten up just a little bit, and then when I take the eye off, I can see just a little bit of change. So that might be something that you need to do. The other thing you may need to do is maybe change the size of something. Maybe it doesn't look proportionally correct. I don't really need to do that for any of these, but if I wanted to, I could. Let's say I want to make this one a little bit bigger. So I'd make sure I clicked on the layer on the pixels. I'm going to go up to Edit, over to Transform, and down to Scale. And then it's going to select the whole picture and change the size. I want to make sure I hold Shift to keep the proportions correct. And then I can make it either smaller or bigger. Okay, so make sure it fits to the proportions of the picture. Now, if I like the changes, I'm going to press Enter. I'm going to click the check mark here. If I don't like the change, I'll either press Escape or do Cancel Transform. Okay, and that'll leave it how it was. And then once you've finished all of this, I'm going to have you save it as a Photoshop document. So File, Save As, name it Rhythm Composite, save it as a Photoshop document, save it to your flash drive, and then pull it into the Z drive to hand in.